One just openly mocks. He calls my diet believing in magic meat. Well, he believes in magic vegetables, and he has to wear a back brace to get across his house. I could do somersaults and in the middle of it get into a knife fight and then continue with my day. I'm good. Thank you. He's falling apart.
Savic, how did you find carnivore?
The year was sometime after 1972, and my mother came up to me and she said, I am going to start a strange diet. It's called the Atkins diet. And she showed me the book. I'd never read the thing, but I saw the cover. It was a man in a white lab coat, and he was advocating that people that wanted to lose weight should eat nothing but meat. So that's what my mother was going to do. And I actually have no idea why she told me, but um, I thought that was an interesting idea. I've always been skinny, but I thought, well, why don't I do it too? I suppose I was somewhat fond of my mother. Most people are, and I decided to do this with her, even though I didn't ever. I've never had a weight problem, but I thought, well, let's make it easy for mom. You know, my mom was a single mom. She was widowed when I was, I think, 6, and this was before she remarried twice. Uh, One husband at a time. We're not Mormon. Anyway, we did this, my mom and I together, and David, I'm sorry, I cannot recall what her results were, but I don't think she was on it long, which is a kind of a problem that people have when they're uh, new to anything. It's an adjustment kind of thing, and but I stayed on it because I thought it was awesome. I love meat. I always have loved meat. And I thought, well, wow, this is amazingly simple and delicious, and I'm just going to keep doing this. And then after that, because I'm kind of a man of extremes or a child of extremes at that point, I thought, well, what happens if I not only eat nothing but meat, because I was getting even skinnier than I was. And there was no reason for this. I just thought it was interesting. Then I thought, well, what if I don't eat at all? What will what will happen then? And yeah, I know it's weird. My life is unusual, has been always. Anyway, so I wanted to see how skinny I could get, and I did, and to a point until my mom started to freak out because I could slip through a keyhole. At one point, I don't know, I started eating regular awful kid food at that point. So I did that. But all of my life, actually, I preferred to eat meat. Now, it is a very difficult situation when you're somebody like me because I was I was born very poor, and when you're poor, you're going to eat anything that you can get your hands on. We won't get into that, but um, I recall even this is anybody that grew up some time ago in the Midwest of the United States of America will probably identify with this, especially if they had parents or grandparents that were kind of old school. I recall being at my grandmother's house, and there would be she would make pork chops, and the pork chops literally looked like the equivalent of fat asbestos shingles. They were black and they were tough, and they would almost shatter when you would try to bite into these things because I think my uh, grandmother believed, rightly so, because these were country people that raised their own animals, things like this from way back in the day, that trichinosis. So you butcher a hog. When you finally cook it, you better cook it very, very, very well. I don't recall a tremendous amount of steaks, but my upbringing literally was a cornucopia of almost anything There's a old television show called the Beverly Hillbillies that very much like that. It's like, there might be frog on the plate or squirrel, most certainly, rabbit, basically anything that could be hunted and caught, turtle, um, lots of catfish, regular fish. It wasn't just a trip to the store, it was a long tradition of hunting. As a matter of fact, my brother even trapped. Um, he trapped for fur, but you know, we weren't really used to eating things like raccoon or possum, as the hillbillies on TV were, but it wasn't out of the question. Now, I know that's unusual, but it used to not be in the history of America, in the history of the human race, very likely. People, I think, very likely ate anything that they could get their hands on. And the most readily available food at any time of the year was some kind of animal. It doesn't matter whether it was fish coming up a river or bear, whatever they could get. And in my opinion, and I have an interesting take on this, and we'll get to that, that's very much like the experts, the experts, the anthropologists, the scientists. They say, well, the human race has lived off of a diet of meat, fatty meat, getting the bone marrow. They found the tools, this, that, and the other thing. They poke some machine at some fossil, and they determine that, well, according to the reading of this machine, these people ate absolutely anything with a face. So, um, in my opinion, that makes perfect sense. And I can tell you why. I've developed a 3 point or a 3 component test concerning the carnivore diet and claims made by the carnivore diet that any individual that is listening to this right now can do themselves. They don't need you, which is a shame because you seem like a nice guy. No, they don't need Dr. Barry or this doctor or this scientist. They don't need somebody talking to them. I'm very iffy on things like this because basically, when people that aren't specialists uh, in a profession, if they're not doctors, if they're not anthropologists, if they're not whatever, appeal to authority. All they have to do is speak convincingly and they can be talked into anything. I have a good friend of mine that's been a radical vegan for years and he's falling apart before my eyes physically, but he keeps going. But I have a 3 component test that we can get to in a bit, but it will prove to an individual alone. You don't need anybody else. You don't need anything but to you yourself, no internet community, no social media influencers, you yourself can validate to yourself whether the claims of the carnivore diet are valid. And they're very simple. They require practically nothing except a little bit of, I don't know, tiny bit of effort, really nothing spectacular. And I have a question about Australia. Are you ready? Okay. What is Vegemite?
It's yeast. It's like beer extract or something. Have you ever tried it?
No, my only experience with it is that song from Men at Work, and it's like it gave me an idea though. You could
Yeah,
be
it's very nice.
it's it's nasty, did you say?
No,
Or
it's
nice?
nice. It tastes nice. Yeah, on
Really?
toast.
I thought
Yeah.
it was awful or something. That's why
Well,
okay, never mind.
I think most people think it's awful when they're trying it first because they think it's going to be tasting like chocolate.
Right.
And then they get this taste like, it's like I don't know, soy sauce tastes more like that. So,
Really?
yeah, it's that
Well, the
salty
reason I
kind.
asked is because you have a YouTube channel and but you don't sell merch. Uh, it's obviously you're just in this for the money, chasing the big bucks, being a carnivore channel. Meatamite. Think about it. All you have to do is get some spam, put it in a blender, and put it in a jar. Meatamite. Now, I don't know what you would put it on except 2 slices of ham, but hey, just a suggestion. But I digress. It's up. I claim no responsibility, Dave. You can run with this and make a fortune. Meatamite. Dave Max Meatamite. Your face on the label, that would be awesome. Um, I want to go just real quick into my recent personal, yeah, personal medical history. Um, First of all, about 3 months ago, my wife passed away of 36 years. My wife passed away of colorectal cancer. Now, uh, some interesting things about that, but uh, because I was spending so much time in the hospital and stuff with her, it came, we're around doctors and stuff all the time, and the doctors, and I'm a carnivore when I can get away with it. Um, but these doctors are asking me, for instance, when's the last time you had a colonoscopy? And I didn't know what those were really. Uh, all kinds of things. Basically, the long story short is I've recently had everything from chest X-rays to echocardiograms to tons of blood work, a colonoscopy, all kinds of things like this. Now, one of the things that my cardiologist found was an ascending aortic aneurysm. Anyway, and that I believe happened. See, I don't have high blood pressure, so I believe that happened because I have a history of doing hard physical labor. I don't do that anymore, but years of doing that kind of thing, lifting extremely heavy weights, not working out, working. And anyway, I think that's basically how I got it. Well, once I got back to eating exclusively carnivore, from the time he diagnosed that, which was a year ago, to the time that we're at today, just 3 weeks ago, I think, he was somewhat astonished and discovered my ascending aortic aneurysm had healed itself, which apparently doesn't happen. It's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to, um,
Right.
it
That's
gets bigger.
really
Yeah. Well, it's not 100% gone, but it wasn't huge to begin with. So it didn't, they didn't believe it required surgery. It's just, it kind of went away. Now, here's the interesting thing. My colonoscopy, chest x-rays, I'm not advocating smoking. Please don't smoke, kids. Um, 40 years of smoking cigarettes, one after another, chest x-rays, nothing. Um, colonoscopy, nothing. Um, but here's the interesting thing. When he discovered, uh, I won't say his name, but when Dr. K, my cardiologist, discovered that a mysteriously disappearing ascending aortic aneurysm, I found out something about my doctor that I didn't know. I don't know the man. We spend very little time together. He used to be a United States Marine, but he he was in some kind of medical capacity. I thought the Navy did that, but anyway, he was a Marine. Maybe he was in the Navy. I don't know. I didn't go into it because the guy was kind of freaking out a little bit. And at the age of 61, I'm about to be 62. Now I love meat. Get it whenever I can. Always have. Uh, he said, I really don't know what to tell you except I did Marine Corps induction physicals for new recruits in the Marine Corps for many, many years. And I'm looking at your numbers, and at the age of 61, you could qualify physically to enter the United States Marine Corps. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, of course, I got home, I looked up the Marine Corps regs, and apparently they shut off at 28. So I'm out of luck. I have no future with the Corps, Dave. But anyway, I do not believe without maybe 6 months training, uh, I could actually survive because because of an injury, I was basically crippled for 2 years. And I'm my muscle, my strength, my endurance is much less than what it used to be prior to the catastrophic and very much interesting and fun injury I got that almost put me in a wheelchair for 2 years. However, um, I don't think I could make Marine Corps boot camp. I don't think it would work the way I am. Give me 6 months, and I might show those boys how it's done because I'm a mean old man, and I think I could do it. But I kid you not. Apparently, my blood pressure is 120 over 7, whatever it's supposed to be. The ultimate, the optimum. My testosterone levels are through the roof. All kinds of the blood work, all of that.
So
About the
how
only
do
thing.
you eat?
How do I eat?
How do you eat?
With my teeth, Dave. Um, I eat meat whenever I'm hungry, and I make absolutely. I do not. I do not worry about meat, what I should eat, when I should eat it, things like this. Matter of fact, I was working in the North Dakota oil fields, and the only thing that I was up there doing hazardous waste uh, cleanup. I should glow in the dark. It was radioactive, and it would eat through your boots and everything else. Anyway, uh, I remember on my birthday, I was up there. I was born in November, and I remember on my birthday, I'm driving in a blizzard. I can't see anything, and I haven't had time to stop and eat. But in my pack, I had a can of Spam, but I had left it in the truck overnight. So I ripped the top off the can of Spam, and it's frozen. And so I'm banging this can of Spam on the steering wheel, and everything's covered in grime, whatever. And I finally get this block of frozen meat out, and I'm just like a beaver on a tree trying to carve this thing out with one hand and I got it in my hand while I'm trying to shift this semi truck. I don't care if it was going to have a face, had a face, or whatever. If it is some kind of meat, I eat it. I don't care whether it's the cheapest hot dog or, well, this morning, for instance, I had to go to Walmart and uh, I wasn't buying meat. I already had it. I was buying charcoal for my breakfast, and it was delicious. It was a gigantic ribeye. I eat ribeyes. I eat the finest meat. I had crawfish the other day, and just anything. I don't care. It is if it's in my way and you can chew it, swallow it, and keep it down. It's fantastic. It's a win in my book. That's one thing about carnivore people, especially the kind that I see on YouTube. Not so much on your show, but when the show. There I go again. But when they do this. They get into the weeds on this stuff. It's like, well, I shouldn't eat this kind of meat because this, and I should only eat it. It's like, do you think that millions of years of human evolution would have withstood that nonsense? Well, I'm sorry, we just took down a bison, but I only do OMAD, so we're going to have to wait until this thing cooks in the sun for 4 hours before we have is please let's eat the damn thing and keep moving. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, and it's never worked for me. Um, When I'm hungry, I eat. When I eat meat. That's a song somewhere in there, or Dr. Seuss rhyme.
You you're a poet and you didn't know it.
Oh no, no, I
Um,
am a songwriter actually, but but the I really am. Um, but there's but there's a few things that I've written down. I've got some notes that we can blast through. Some odd. I'm not a. I love YouTube. It's a tremendous resource. But there's some things about the carnivore community that I want to address, and they're not necessarily criticisms, but it's things that I want people to think about. That whole thing with being very picky about what kind of meat, and it must be grass fed, and it must be this. And I think Dr. Barry is like, he's supposedly a low life scumbag redneck hillbilly like me, and he's like, eat bologna. Well, yeah, eat what you can afford, eat what you want to eat. Just don't eat cake. Don't drink soft drinks. Don't drown everything in seed oils. Don't fry stuff. And it's not difficult. You know, it's like it used to walk around or swim or fly or something. Good. You win. Eat it. Big deal. Don't worry about it. Um, Here's one of the things. Oh, I wanted to show you guys something. Here, thanks to your show and so many other people's, I want to show you guys something that I think is pretty cool. Uh, don't get into my personal history. I've done a series of my entire life. I've sought out danger and excitement, especially in my employment. We won't go into it. However, I'm kind of an expert on dangerous things, on things that will hurt or kill you. Now, check this out. I found these recently, and I think these are very interesting because of an interest I have. I want to show the audience. Now, this single item that I'm about to show the audience exemplifies, I think, the seeming weird mental kink that people seem to have about the carnivore diet who aren't carnivores. Here it is. Ready? Okay, let's do it. I don't know if you can see this. You see that? That is a scorpion inside of a sucker, lollipop, whatever you want to call it. Now, here's the thing. I'm kind of an expert on scorpions. Right now, I'm looking at a large iron shelf that contains 9 of them. They're my personal pets. Okay. I'm weird. Sorry, folks. But anyway, I dig them. The ones I have happen to be the most lethally, they have medically significant venom. I was interested in these because I spoke to the company that produces those today. But look at this. The scorpion's fine. They're a common they use 2 common varieties and they cut the stinger off. But here's the thing. This is what people see when they see carnivore. They're looking right past this sugary goop and they're seeing meat. And they're not seeing meat, they're seeing a bug, but the bug is meat. It's been cooked, by the way. They're seeing meat and they're saying, that's awful. Oh, God, I could never do that. Now, I'm not advocating eating scorpions. Scorpions are good people. I like them. Don't eat them, folks. Please. I am ambivalent towards cows, but I like scorpions. Now, that's what the public see. I find it mm, almost incomprehensible why anybody gets upset about this. I have 2 friends of mine that think that my carnivore diet is the most outrageous thing they've ever heard of. And they fail to understand that they actually know me, which if if they can put up with the things that I've done in my life, but they think eating meat is just this beyond the pale. My God, sir, what are you doing? Um, and it's like the public, just like that the scorpion confection, and you can eat the scorpion; it's completely harmless. That's how they see the carnivore diet somehow, and I think I know why, but we won't get into this. How strange. How absolutely strange. Especially if you watch your channel. You do your channel, but the viewers at home, hi viewers, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people that are sincerely and honestly giving this narrative. I was sick. I was on this and that and one thing after another. I just had all these things and I stumbled across Dave Mack, and Dave Mack said I should eat meat. So I started to eat meat. And then suddenly all of these problems went away. Well, how remarkable. Well, that's good with one story, but when you start talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of people that on their personal thing, they realize that the problem isn't the scorpion or the red meat or the pork chop or the hot dog. The problem is what's around it. And people are not getting that. They have a somehow some bizarre visceral reaction, like it's any of their business what you eat. I find that absolutely ridiculous. But um, that's it. The craziness of it is, and Dave, I do apologize. Let's just, if it would make people feel better, you can just dismiss me as a borderline psychopath. But I really am not impressed with the human race. I do not think that they are as nearly as smart as they think they are. I don't hate anybody, absolutely not. But my God, um, the obvious difference that you feel when you eat let's just say a meat-based diet as opposed to garbage, any kind of processed, weirdly shaped and colored kind of thing that you could possibly find in a grocery aisle. You eat nothing but meat, you feel great, all of these things, everything falls into place, you feel fantastic. You go to the doctor, it's like, where did your diabetes go? Well, gee, I don't know, doc. I guess I was doing something horribly wrong, like eating meat. Um, it just is ridiculous. As a matter of fact, that brings me to something. I am not, when I say I'm not a big fan of the human race, I mean that so many bad things happen when we think communally. Now, this is contrary because you think about the carnivore community. That's fantastic in so many ways. It's like, I'm new to this. What do you guys do? You know, you talk amongst yourself or things like that, but there's a danger in a community too, any type of collective. The collective is what got people into bad diets in the first place. The collective, people in white coats, authorities telling you, you should eat 7 pounds of potatoes and spinach a day or else you're going to die. Um, my wife's doctor, God bless the man, he was presented with an impossible situation. My wife had stage 4 cancer before it was even detected. One day out of the blue, my wife asked her doctor, Doc, what caused my cancer? And without missing a beat, he said, eating red meat. My wife was a vegetarian. In the 30 somethings, 36 years I knew her, I couldn't have filled 2 5-gallon buckets with meat that ever went down her throat. But that, according to the doctors, that is the collective idea. Well, I'm alive, very much alive, and she's dead. And she ate almost nothing but vegetables. I'm not saying that's what did it. I don't know. But the thing is, the doctor never asked her, well, what have you been eating? Are you smoking asbestos? Are you whatever? It's no, no, red meat. And my wife didn't refute any of that. She just kind of nodded her head, whatever. But anyway, remember that when people make claims about the carnivore diet, I've got 2 friends that eat a plant-based kind of thing, and they are physical wrecks, mental wrecks. They're the same age as me. Their teeth are falling out, rheumatoid arthritis, acid reflux, Restless leg syndrome, poor circulation, their eyesight is shot. What else? Rashes. I run out of. I get hit every time I see one of my friends. I get hit with the latest thing that they had to give up. My friend Dave, same name as yours, he told me the other day he used to play guitar. I'm a songwriter. He used to be a musician. Well, he had to give up eating nothing but vegetables. He feeds his dog potatoes. Anyway, he's committed because he read a book or read several books and started getting into this collective mindset that said all you should eat is vegetables because red meat's the worst thing in the world for you. Anyway, he is literally falling apart, absolutely falling apart physically, mentally, everything. But anyway, these friends of mine, and by the way, I have two male friends that one just openly mocks. He calls my diet believing in magic meat. Well, he believes in magic vegetables, and he has to wear a back brace to get across his house. I could do somersaults, and in the middle of it, get into a knife fight, and then continue with my day. I'm good, thank you. He's falling apart. Same with my friend Jason. I asked him. He can't at this point. He can't even eat solid food. He eats mushy whatever because his all his teeth are gone. I still have my original teeth. Um, and I said, "How did you lose your teeth?" It's like, well, I really like seeds, and I was, years chomping on sunflower seeds, and they cracked my teeth, and then it's like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And I don't tell these people what to do in any way. But anyway, they're constantly, it's like, you shouldn't eat meat. It's like, well, you can, have you looked in the mirror lately? But yeah, be very suspicious because a community of health minded, well meaning people told them all you should do is eat vegetables. Now, which brings me to my test. Three tests that you can do yourself that you do not have to rely on any carnivore expert or influencer. You don't have to go on any message boards or join any communities to do these things just to see the validity, the validity of the carnivore diet. Here they are. Do what I did today. I went to Walmart and I has a large grocery thing. I didn't buy any food. I bought charcoal so I could cook my ribeye for breakfast. First test. Go to any large supermarket and just look. Look at the people, look at the carts they are pushing. Sometimes, very often, they're riding around in motorized vehicles inside the store with a cart. Now, look what's in the cart, then look at the person pushing it. What do you see? There seems to be a pattern developing here. And I've noticed too, the more I do this, it's like you can identify these people not by looking at them at first, but by looking at the cart from across the store because their carts are filled with so much bright, colorful things, all this processed food, big bunches of soft drinks and this box of cereal that looks like a neon thing. It's like looks like they're pushing around fireworks, Christmas presents. It's just all color, and your eye will pick that up, and then look a little bit over here, and oh yeah, they're about 360 pounds, and they're walking with a limp, and they look like hell. Now, unless these people are going to the grocery store, the supermarket, and buying all of this garbage and then going out behind the store and throwing it in the dumpster, I think there may be a connection here. That's test one. Test two, and this is my favorite because my vegan friend got very upset at this. He refutes the fact that it's about ancestral diets. he refutes the fact that it seems for, I don't know, a million years or more that our ancestors did anything but eat plants and roots and things like that and grains. He says that's the way it was, that's the way it always has been, and all that stuff. So I don't know, it's kind of being snarky. I don't like to argue with him about this, but it's like, so the Plains Indians were killing buffalo just to be mean to them. Is that the case? They're driving them off cliffs because I don't know, the Comanche were dicks. Had nothing better to do, and just, hey, let's go screw around with those buffalo because we're mean. Yeah, great use of your time there. Anyway, uh,
Maybe eating all the veggies had, made them B12 deficient, so they were,
made them crazy. It made them psychopathically murderous towards anything on legs, apparently. And they, God forbid they ate them or made shelters out of their hides or tools out of their bones, but hated the bison, hated them with a passion. Anyway, um, ancestral diet. Here's how you do this. Now, it's going to be easier for some people than most, but for me, I live in a rural area. In another couple of months, I'm going to be able to do this test. You can do it yourself. Take a friend if you want, but here's the test. I heard of some things called ice ages. Every year around here, it snows, it gets cold. But when it snows, interesting things happen. Right now, it's October, leaves are starting to fall off the tree. Now, I was raised by my grandparents to more or less survive off the land. I can go out and I can eat a dozen different plants, but there's problems with that, which also argues against this vegan caveman fantasy. But because unless you're very well versed and very lucky, you're not going to find the same amount of foods in the same place at the same time where you are. And good luck with that, ugh, because you're going to die. You're going to starve to death. Um, so here's the thing. Test number two. Wait until it snows. And I can't say you can do this in Chicago or Dallas or Japan. I don't know. But anyway, for most people, winter will come. I want you to wait until the first snow and I want you to go outside. And I want you to do this. All you got to do is within the next 48 hours, look around, see what you can eat, see what you can find to eat. Because the premise of the test is in your imagination. You have 48 hours to find something to eat. If you do not find something to eat, anything to eat, you die. That's the end of you and the end of your ancestral line. You're it. 48 hours. It just snowed. What are you going to do? Well, there's no berries on the trees unless you're very familiar with a variety of vegetation that you can eat, like cattails, for instance. You'd be able to pull the core out of a cattail and get some starch out of that. But cattails don't aren't around all the time. Um, there are various roots and things, but now you're looking at 5 inches of snow on the ground. What are you going to do? Ice age. What are you going to do? Well, here's what you will do, and here's what I think our ancestors did, and here's the test you can perform yourself. Look around. You're standing in 5 inches of snow. Nowhere that you look is a nut. There, you might be standing on a pile of walnuts, but you don't know it because it's under 5, 6 inches of snow. But there's one thing you will see. You'll see possibly movement in the distance. You'll see some geese coming down out of the sky and resting on even the ice of a pond. But the one thing that you'll see are tracks in the snow. Walnuts and berries and delicious roots do not leave tracks, especially in the winter, but things that you can eat do. If you want to survive in the next 48 hours, I suggest you follow those tracks. And I think that's what our ancestors did, even in the worst environment. I've been taught how to track animals, trap animals, all of this stuff. I don't do that now. This was when I was a kid. That's what they did. It's the only explanation. But do that yourself. You don't actually have to chase down the animal and shoot an arrow at them. Just look around you and say, can I survive here? If I have to find something to eat right now, can I survive? And this will prove to you, I think, personally, no community, no expert, no doctors, no studies. I hate studies. Oh, the study says this will prove to you yourself, no YouTube, no nothing. What if you had to do this? What if thousands of your ancestors had to live like this? Would you make it? Not just 48 hours, a year, 2 years, 5 years. Yeah, spring comes, you've got green shoots. You want to eat that stuff, you can. You can. It'll help you out, keep you going while you're hunting for some kind of animal. Anyway, that's test number two. First was a trip to Walmart. Look at the fine people there. Second is the ancestral diet in snow. And the third is the simplest of all, which seems to be the most devastatingly difficult thing in the world to do, and that is try it. Try it. Okay. This scorpion, oops, excuse me. Sorry. This scorpion thing I showed you, folks, like I said, don't eat scorpions. But people act as if that's what you had to do to be, to have some success with the carnivore diet. Please. I've dealt with a lot of dangerous things in my life, and I seriously have zero experience, nor have I ever heard anybody ever tell me the tale of, oh my God, I was forced to eat steak for 30 days and I spent 2 years in the hospital recovering from, come on. And you can eat any kind of meat you like, eggs, it's like there's a bunch of stuff. All right. Alligator. I had some alligator recently. You could eat one of those. In Australia, kangaroo. You can eat a kangaroo tail. By the way, I used to work in prisons, and I saw a documentary about some Australian prisons, and the native Australians, the Aboriginal people, the ones that were incarcerated there, the Australian Department of Corrections or whatever, and I don't know how this happened. They didn't elaborate. They were providing those gentlemen at that particular prison with kangaroo tail, and they loved it. That was their diet when they were free. And they were sitting at a park bench just chowing down on some kangaroo tail. And bless the Department of Corrections for doing that. It was very thoughtful of them. But all you have to do is try it. Is it that difficult, folks? Is it? Is it just beyond all comprehension? It just cannot be done. Oh my God, go to the store and buy a dozen eggs. Oh my God, how will you manage such a task? And eat them. You can scramble them. You can do whatever. Have some fish. It's not difficult. Now, you do that, you do it for 30 days, right? Do it for 30 days and then quit. But in that period of time, test number three is, well, how do you feel? How do you feel? These things aren't difficult. I just don't, whatever. And people will say, well, I can't do that because of genetics, or I can't do it. Well, my condition. These are not geneticists. These are not scientists saying, well, it's genetic. Please expand upon that. How do you know? How do you know that your condition isn't not genetics, but epigenetics? The genomic expression to the environment, including your diet. How do you know? Maybe you can bypass this supposed awful thing that is supposedly your genetics by changing your diet and turning off certain metabolic processes. And I'm not a scientist. I don't know how this stuff works. But according to epigenetics, other genes express themselves, which in the presence of a toxin like, I don't know, a pie, seed oils, things like that, will not express themselves if you eat the diet you're supposed to eat. Look, like I said, I've got pet scorpions. Have you ever tried to feed a scorpion a carrot? They will not eat it. I have tried and tried. They are not interested, and they're stubborn little monsters, but they will not. They know better than people. They know what they like, and they eat it, and they do very well. So that's about it. It kind of. It's just I kind of wanted to put in my these things that I see of the carnivore community itself. Um, there also really briefly there seems to be a consensus, and I totally get this. I totally understand this, but you have to understand. I've dealt with very, very dangerous men most of my life, serial killers and arsonists and all of this kind of thing. And there are a lot of bad people in the world. When I say a lot, relatively. Now, all of the people, what was his name? Ansel Keys and all of these people, Kellogg, that was worried that if you eat meat, you might burst into a column of flame and masturbate to death or some kind of whatever. There's always going to be people that are goofy in the head and they may believe what they believe, but then they start something and then it catches on and then you could say corruptions. But here's the thing. Yeah, the food industry, the drug industry, all of these things, bad people. Fine. Don't worry about the bad people. Worry about yourself. Because the bad people aren't going to change, until you hurt them in the pocketbook or something else. They're not going to change. So don't worry that I know it sounds crazy, but don't worry that the entire food industry and the governments and the uh, pharmaceutical industries are trying to poison you. It's real simple. Just don't allow yourself to be poisoned. It's not difficult. Simple, 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 simple. And that's it. Basically, it's your responsibility. Don't worry about the bad people. The bad people cannot harm you if you do not allow them. So just don't let them. Don't play the game. Don't do what they tell you. Do what you know is right according to yourself and your own body. And that's it, basically.
Well said.
What?
How can people reach out to you? Do you
They
have
can.
any way of getting in contact?
I live in an underground bunker surrounded by razor wire, and I really don't do social media. I My plan is to become famous and a social media star by appearing on everyone else's YouTube channels. I don't have to do any work that way. You see, it's like I'll let Mac do the heavy lifting. I'm just going to show up and look pretty. Thank you. Hi, Handsome Boy Modeling School graduate class of 1984, and people will see me no matter what channel. I'll be there, but no, I'm much too important to be contacted. I'm sorry. I just do not talk to the little people, if you know what I mean, Dave. I find them. I have a name for them, slow-mo sapiens. I know it's rather rude, but uh, no, they can't reach out to me unless you want to
No,
send me money, and that's fine. But you'll have to work for that too.
no worries. So if someone really does want to send you a message, they can send it to me and I'll pass it on. Yeah.
Please do. As a matter of fact, I would encourage, and before we go, ladies and gentlemen, where do I look? Where's the camera? Ladies and gentlemen, David Mack is, I don't know if you've noticed, but David Mack is doing a very unique and very, very good positive thing. And he has a goal. Remember this. He has a goal. By the end of the year, he would like 100,000 subscribers. Let's go for 2 million. Screw it. Let's go for the gold. Um, he wants as many subscribers as possible by the end of the year. And if you folks haven't noticed, Mr. Mac is producing content, carnivore-based content with testimonials that feature people that are very sincere about their experiences. He is blasting this stuff out. This man is working himself to death. And it's kind of obvious. And help the man out. If you haven't subscribed to what do you guys what do you call yourself? No Carb Life or the Australian meat thing or whatever. I'm in Japan now, but I'm Australian channel. I don't know what you people do. Anyway, subscribe, like, and if anybody wants to contact me, here's the thing. You can. I will be looking at my pretty face from this video over and over and over again. And if you put a comment down below, I might respond to it and you'll get a cookie. What do you think of that? That'll be so much fun. And I'll say terrible things to you. And that's about it. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with Dave, be quiet. I have a cat. They're not as good as scorpions. If you want to get in touch with Dave to get in touch with me, God knows what I could do for you, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. That's all I'm saying. Hey, we're done.
Savic, thank you so
Yeah,
much for your time. I really
sure.
appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.